Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are after market close on Tuesday, October 12th. I wanted to share a few swing trade setups that I'm watching for the week. Now, this is in lieu of doing a live swing trade entry video. Now, that's still on the schedule. It's unscheduled, but I'm planning to do it, but I just haven't had the time to sort of structure it and put it together. But that's where I take my swing trade entries for the day and do them live on YouTube Live. But instead, I thought I would sort of share what I'm looking at and why, and sort of, this looks like it's making sense to any folks, then they can sort of like do their own homework and make their own decisions on these ahead of time before these really like start to potentially break out. That said, nothing's 100%, and these can certainly go against us for sure. So just have to sort of keep a tight eye on them and sort of see what they're doing at any given point in time. Charge point is the first one here. Now, charge point fell through previous lows. I thought it would catch itself right along this red line previously. It's from an old chart. You can see all this support that it had back there, and it fell through to even new lows, new recent lows, 1760. But this 1834 is a really important zone. You see this previous pivot point here, resistance that flipped to support and kicked off this big run here. So this, along with this confining price action in this wedge here, and it's starting to break out of that. If we see another strong move up there in the next day or two, that's going to put a lot of pressure on that 2057 level, that red line, and will certainly do most of the work to get itself out of this wedge. And so if we see that coming, this is the sort of price target that I'm looking at, around high 25s to mid 28s. So kind of a big range there, but that's the big sort of like breakout area that I'm looking for as a potential initial price target. So could be pretty good returns if this one actually comes to fruition. I'll be watching the volume really closely as well, because as this break is occurring, we want to see this green buy volume pick up quite strongly. Now, KPLT, I've been watching for a while. There's a gap here, and it also has this wedge that is forming, this triangle that's forming, and I'm really interested to see if it's going to break out and then come back to try to fill this gap. Now, it made an attempt here a while back when I was watching it, a few weeks ago probably, and it stopped around like mid sevens, and so it leaves it about $1.50 left to go. $1.50, $1.60, something like that, if it wants to actually come up and fill the rest of that gap. So I'm watching super closely to see what it does in this range. Now, when it did start this upswing, I did take a call option position for January of 2022. And so that's, not doing anything amazing at the moment, but I thought, that this sort of breakout might come a little bit sooner, and it might, meaning it might not take it all the way to the end point here, which would be around the 25th or so of October, but you never know. So I'm just sort of keeping a close eye on that, and if I need to sort of jet out of that call position and then come back in for a better entry, if the play continues to sort of work itself through, then I would certainly consider doing that. I should mention with charge point as well, I did take a position at the very end of the day today, sort of a starter position, to just see if I could be catching the initial point of a breakout here. Or I guess this would be the initial point, but pretty early on still, with this much room to run. That said, I'm obviously watching to see if it comes down and retests 1834, and if it can't hold 1834, then that could certainly spell trouble. Halliburton, I haven't taken a position in yet, but I need to zoom out a little bit more on this. So it's been in this range for a very long time, and it's just now starting to attempt to come out top of it, and that 25.45 is a pretty significant resistance level. You see it ties back down here and here as well, and so this was way back in 2019, for example, and this was in the beginning of 2020. So that's a long-standing resistance zone that is reaching at the sort of tippy top, or just out of this range that it's been trading in. So I'm hoping that it's catching some tailwinds there. And if it establishes there, then I'll be looking for 2740 to be its next level. You see that ties back here, resistance and pivot zones here. And then above that, this 3252, which is previous resistance over here, which was early 2019 and beyond. But it certainly stretched back even before that, that being an important zone for it. So a bunch of potential to the upside there if it can stretch itself out and stop sort of just batting itself around in this range. But I've not yet taken a position in that. ACHL, I was recently in and out of, and I honestly can't remember. I didn't go back and check before this if I had left a position in this somewhere. But if not, I'm looking like pretty strongly to come back in. But sometimes I just lock in profits and then jump on something else. It's maybe a little bit of a shorter term move and then look to come back in. If it does peel back a little bit in the after hours here, like we're seeing, that could be a good potential look. So what I'm looking at here is this downtrend, right? This consistent resistance that it was catching, and it kicked itself out of that and then did a very common thing, which is it consolidated itself out of there, but then just started following that down on the other side of that resistance. And then it was able to establish a little bottom here and now has started to reverse this trend. And so I'm watching this very closely, but there are some key levels that it's sort of butting up against. It has that 699 now, and it's working on that 853. And if that's where it can sort of establish support here and continue walking up this yellow uptrend line, then that to me looks like a really strong potential play for this one. So I either, like I said, trying to be transparent here, I either do have a position right now or I recently closed one out and am looking to get back into one. So one or the other. But yeah, those are what I'm looking at for the time being. Like I said, try to put some out ahead of time or some very, very new positions that I have, like ChargePoint that took literally 1 minute before market close today. But hopefully that's, gives folks something to look at. And as always, take a strong look for yourself and make your decisions based on what you see the price doing, because these things can change quite rapidly. And predicting the future is not a possibility. So we take the signs and signals and try to stitch them together and come up with a thesis, essentially. All right, folks, enough soapbox. I will let you take a look and decide for yourself. But in any case, I hope that your trading week is going well, and I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.